There's an important story that's getting buried.
Something puzzling is happening on the world stage.
No. Don't look over there. It doesn't matter.
Under all the terrible news about the war in Iran,
over 1,200 targets already hit.
gas prices soaring.
Since that war has started, more than doubled our price of farm diesel.
Something else caught my attention, and I've been a journalist for more than 20 years, so it takes a lot for a headline to really grab me.
It was from the Financial Times. Donald Trump's Green New Deal. What?
Drill, baby, drill.
But then I started searching and I found headline after headline, story after story. The reporting was there, but I wondered why this isn't getting more attention. So I got even more curious, and then I started watching a very different kind of video, not about the war at all, but about doomsday preppers.
In an off-grid situation, you don't have a utility company.
And then you don't need to pay for electricity anymore for 15, 20 years.
I don't know that I would want to go back to being reliant on the grid.
And that's when I realized that these savvy YouTubers have known something for a long time, and it's that real energy independence doesn't come from oil and gas.
We use solar power to get everything going out here.
And now the war in Iran is proving that for the United States, our Achilles heel is oil.
That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency.
With oil prices now surging after the attack.
Gas prices here in the U.S. now at their highest point in 4 years.
The president has been pretty clear this war is about oil, and he also knew it would cost Americans more.
I knew oil prices would go up if I did this.
There's this live tracker from Brown University that shows that the war has already cost Americans an extra $30 billion in gas and diesel.
As the price goes up, it's just losing money every day.
And on top of this costing Americans more, it's also putting us farther behind the rest of the world.
But we have to understand that America's political dysfunction here allows the Chinese to take advantage, investing the most in renewable energies, nuclear, wind, solar, electric vehicles, batteries.
And they're also profiting off of it because they're still making solar panels and wind turbines, things that the United States was doing more of until Republicans killed the Inflation Reduction Act.
Coal miners, coal is back.
So it's hard to think about a silver lining with something as awful as a war, but I was really curious about this question. What if President Trump and his war in Iran is actually going to help in the long-term transition to these cheap, clean sources of energy and become more energy independent in the future? Because as environmental journalist Bill McKibben puts it, price is going to be the thing that breaks the control that oil billionaires have on our lives.
Quite amazing to just remember that we are literally bathed every day in absolutely free energy. Sun and the wind just pouring it on all the time. And the fact that it comes for free, of course, is precisely the thing that terrifies the fossil fuel industry. Their prosperity is built on hoarding this stuff, holding it in reserve, doling it out month by month as long as you write them a check.
So to fully understand this, I wanted to talk to two people. One, a member of Congress, and let me tell you, he did not hold back.
The first instinct that comes to me, and this is one of these quotes that could be pulled back and used against me, but I'm going to do it anyway.
I also talked to Mark Jacobson from Stanford University, an engineer and energy expert. He explains how this transition isn't just going to save us money, we're also going to use less energy in the long run.
It turns out when you do this transition, you reduce energy consumption 56% or so because of the efficiency of electricity over burning things. For example, an electric car, 80 to 86% of the electricity in the car goes to move the car. The rest is waste heat. A gasoline car, on the other hand, only about 17 to 20% of the energy in the gasoline goes to move the car, and the rest is waste heat. So you use about 1/4 to 1/5 the energy by driving an electric car than a gasoline car. And as a result, you'd spend a lot less. I mean, the cost of driving an electric car, the fuel cost, is about 80 cents a gallon equivalent compared with, $4 to $7 or $8 these days for a gallon of gasoline. And also, most people don't realize, but when you eliminate fossil fuels and their mining, well, 11% of all the energy worldwide is used to mine, transport, and refine fossil fuels and uranium. So we'd eliminate all that energy requirement because all our energy is coming from the wind, which comes right to the turbine, and the sunlight, it comes right to solar panels. I mean, we found that transitioning entirely to 100% clean renewable energy and storage for everything, it reduces the annual energy cost that people would pay by over 60%, around 63%.
Now to talk about what all this actually means in Washington, here's Congressman Adam Smith from Washington State.
For most of the 20th century, we had a clear energy policy, cheap oil.
We need more domestic energy, not less.
And it worked, by the way. I mean, we were able to grow the economy enormously, but now we need to find something different. And we can do that too. But at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do is preserve the planet for life, human life, but life in general. The urgency of that problem is as great as it has ever been. And at the same time, we can get after this problem.
How do we then talk about the environment and protecting nature and protecting our planet in the context of everything else?
Well, prior to Trump coming in and smashing everything, investing in alternatives, there was good bipartisan support for wind, solar, geothermal, making some investments in fusion energy. Certainly, there's bipartisan support for trying to come up with new ways to do nuclear. I think the bipartisan consensus is there, and I think we need to keep building on it. And part of the reason we need to keep talking with Republicans and working with them, even as we bang our head against the table about why it is that they let Trump survive past January 6th, I think we can't sever those relationships, because at some point Trump will be gone. There will be an opportunity for an alternative future. So I think one of the most important things is don't lose track of that broader coalition, even as we're frustrated by how some aspects of that broader coalition are letting Trump do what he's doing.
With the war in Iran, I mean, just the environmental impact of everything that we're doing, I feel like is hard to quantify. It's like, okay, I use my reusable water bottle and I ride a bike instead of driving a car, but like that doesn't matter because we're blowing up things in the Middle East.
Yeah. Well, look, there's a whole nother conversation here about we need to stop relying on the military as much as we do. And we need to find ways to be comfortable containing problems and thinking that we have to blow things up until we imagine we solve them, because we never do actually solve them. And that's what Trump claimed he had learned when he was running for president, saying that if he was elected, we wouldn't go to war with Iran. And here we are.
When we talk about energy independence, there's something I feel like we can learn from like the doomsday preppers, the people that want to build their bunkers and their off-grid cabins.
So solar's fantastic. It's a fantastic option. You can probably see the panels up there.
Well, they have solar panels and sometimes wind turbines and batteries because they recognize like that's actually energy independence.
Yeah, no, exactly. There are options so that we don't keep digging up fossil fuels from below the ground and burning them and destroying the planet. We need to embrace this technological age. I mean, think of where wind and solar were at 20 years ago. They were too expensive. It was just too high. We developed technology, improved that technology, got to a better place. So if we embrace the challenge of protecting our planet and coming up with ways to use energy that are less harmful to that planet, we can do it. We don't have to be dependent upon fossil fuels. And by the way, that's another lesson of the Iran war. I've argued with conservatives on this all the time who are like, we can't be dependent upon Middle East oil. We got to drill our own. I said, look, as long as you are dependent upon fossil fuels, you will be dependent upon Middle East oil. You can drill as much as you want to drill here. It's still a global market. All right. And if one part of that global market takes a hit, it's going to really upset things. The only way that we can get off of our dependency on Middle East oil is to get off of our dependency on oil, period. When the day comes that the gas price goes up and you don't care because you can go get your energy somewhere else, that's when we will truly be independent.
I wanted to ask you about this research from the Environmental Voter Project. Nonpartisan organization did this big survey last summer, and they found that Americans really care about climate change, like huge majorities, 2/3, 3/4 of Americans, but they don't see it as political. So they think, I need to recycle, I need to buy an EV, that they don't think about voting as a solution to that. What is the societal change, the cultural change that has to take place to get people to start voting for our planet?
Without question, it's a problem. The environment is not an issue that leaps to the top of people's agenda. They're focused on so-called kitchen table issues, the cost of healthcare, the quality of education, the cost of education, the cost of housing, jobs, how strong is the economy. I think, and we did try this message with some success starting in the mid 90s or late 80s even, was the idea of a win-win.
Green manufacturing boom, creating jobs in the city of Fremont.
We can grow the economy and get to a better place with cleaner energy jobs. I think part of what we have to do is we have to make sure that those jobs are good jobs, well-paying union jobs. But I think that is the case we have to make. And I believe in it 100%, that we can get off of fossil fuels and still have a strong economy and make sure that people can make a living. Now, the last piece of this is I think we do have to be inclusive. And one of the things I worry about, and I've seen in the last 20 years in terms of how folks on the left have organized around the climate issue, is they think that if they're screaming insults loudly enough at someone who disagrees with them, that will get them to agree with them. And that doesn't really play out that way. We can dial down the sanctimony a little bit and just really go out and work with people to get to better solutions. And I think that did put off a lot of people. You're driving a car and people act like you're Charles Manson. All right, I'll work with you to try to get to a better place, but, let's calm down on being so aggressive in attacking people and being so self-righteous about it. We want to grow this movement. We want to bring more people in so that we can get more support. And I think we need to rethink how we make that pitch sometimes.
In the context of who the president is and will likely be for the next few years, when we're talking about environmental issues, nature, the outdoors, should we stop saying climate change?
Yes.
Yeah, no more climate change. Stop saying it.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's effective marketing. I've always hated that. I like global warming was fine. I mean, I try not to get too much into semantics personally, but I thought global warming was more descriptive. Part of the problem with climate change is if you try to sell people on climate change, most people think, yeah, the weather changes. It rained yesterday. It's sunny today. Okay, what the hell are you talking about? It doesn't have the same ring to it as global warming. I think what we need to talk about is being able to preserve life on the planet. And the fact that a lack of clean air, a lack of clean water, and the changes in temperature and what's impacting us is jeopardizing life, all right, and our ability to survive as a planet. And we ought to be concerned about that. Global warming is a far more scary concept than climate change. So if we could just make that change, talk about global warming again instead of climate change, I think it would resonate better with a broader group of people.
We know there is common ground between Democrats and Republicans on environmental issues, but it's just not happening. For people that are listening to this, what do you need them to do? What do you need Americans to do to kind of like force that issue and force the two sides together?
Well, first of all, talk about the issue. I mean, make sure that when surveys come up, people ask you what matters to you. Make sure that the environment is one of those things that matters to you. It's the cliche that politics is a substitute for violence, but it's also true. This is how we resolve. We can resolve differences peacefully through dialogue, through a set of rules, or we can just duke it out. So I don't want the just duke it out option. I've seen the result of that all over the world. So yeah, let's try to stay engaged with as broad a segment of the population as we can.
And so to make sure I'm being crystal clear about this, someone still listening, they care about our planet, they care about our country, but if they're disgusted with politics, what do you want them to do anyway?
Get involved. And also, forgive me, I've been working in politics for 40 plus years now. If you're disgusted with politics, the first instinct that comes to me, and this is one of these quotes that could be pulled back and used against me, but I'm going to do it anyway, get over yourself, okay? Yeah, no, it's unfortunate. It's difficult. You got to put up with a lot of bullshit if you're going to be involved. You don't get to where exactly you want to be. But that's sort of the nature of civil society. I mean, I have people who tell me they're disgusted with politics. Oh, Congress, why can't you guys get along? And these are people that aren't on speaking terms with half of their immediate family. All right. So I think you get it. I think you understand how hard it is to get along with other people. It's just necessary if we're going to have a true representative democracy. So, yeah, I mean, life is hard. Politics is hard. You don't get your way. People make dumb decisions. Bad people get things that they shouldn't get. Welcome to the world that's been around ever since human beings formed civilizations. So don't get hung up on that. Get hung up on what you can do to make it better. Because at the end of the day, that's really all any of us got. You can make things better or you can make them worse. Me, I'm going to keep trying to make them better.
I mean, that's probably why you're still in Congress after a number of these years. I'm making an assumption, but I assume that you still have hope that we can change direction here, that we can still do this.
100%. Yeah. No, I've never lost my optimism that people can't come together and solve problems. I've seen it. Building greater support, political support, and a greater political movement to protect the environment is one of the more important things that we need to do. It's not that there's a whole lot of issues, but I think the environment is the issue that is the most important, that we have so much ground to make up on in terms of building a consensus around that. It just has slipped too much. It's too important. So I think we need to get back to sort of growing support and coming up with that better message and that better policy agenda to get people engaged and involved in something that is this important.
And I imagine when that day comes that our planet and that the environment is the number one issue, politics won't even have a choice anymore, right? Like it'll just be done.
That is, I think, both a great way to put it and a great way to end the conversation. I think that's a really good goal to set.
And if you're still with me, yes, it's obvious to say it's important to vote, but it really is. I mean, look at this from 2024. All those yellow states are places where neither Trump nor Harris got as many votes as the number of eligible voters who did not vote. Did not vote would have basically won the election in 2024 if that was possible. So that shows you that it really is important to engage in the system. You can have an impact. Go to vote.gov if you want to check your registration or register to vote for the first time. As much as politics may be frustrating sometimes, it really is one of our best ways to protect the planet.